There is one machine silhouette that almost everyone on Earth recognizes, even if they have never set foot on a construction site. Yellow, black trim, a digging arm at the back, a loading bucket at the front. People do not call it a backhoe loader, they call it the JCB. That is not an accident. That is one of the most successful branding achievements in industrial history. And it started with one man, one shed, and a single welding machine. In the years after the Second World War, Britain faced an enormous task: rebuild everything. Roads, housing, farms, infrastructure. Large parts of the country had to be reconstructed from the ground up, and there was a chronic shortage of heavy machinery to do it. Most construction equipment at the time was imported, expensive, and built for jobs far larger than what most small contractors actually needed. There was a gap in the market, a small but persistent one. One man, working alone in a small garage in Staffordshire, England, decided to fill it. His name was Joseph Cyril Bamford. His initials would eventually become one of the most recognized brand names in the world: JCB. This is the story of how a one-man welding shop became a global engineering company, and how a single bright yellow machine became a cultural icon far beyond the construction industry. In 1945, Joseph Cyril Bamford started his business with almost nothing: a rented garage, a single welding machine purchased second-hand, and a small amount of capital, by most accounts, very little. He was 29 years old. His first product was simple: a tipping trailer built from war surplus materials, designed to be towed behind a tractor and used by farmers to haul and dump materials. It was not glamorous, but it solved a real problem for British farmers who needed practical, affordable equipment during a period when money and materials were both scarce. The trailer sold. Then it sold again and again. Bamford reinvested the profits immediately into better tools, more materials, and new designs. What set Bamford apart from many small manufacturers of the era was not just mechanical skill. It was his instinct for what farmers and small contractors actually needed, not what big manufacturers assumed they needed. He listened, he adapted, he built quickly, and iterated even faster. By the early 1950s, his small operation had grown into a proper manufacturing business, still small by industry standards, but growing steadily. And then, in 1953, Bamford made the decision that would define the company forever. In the early 1950s, construction sites typically needed two separate machines for two separate jobs. One machine to dig, an excavator, usually large, expensive, and difficult to maneuver on small sites. A second, completely different machine to load and move material, usually a basic loader or shovel attachment. For small contractors, owning two separate machines was often financially out of reach. Bamford's idea was elegantly simple. What if you mounted a loading bucket on the front of a tractor and a digging arm on the back? One machine, two functions, a fraction of the cost of owning separate equipment. In 1953, JCB introduced what is widely considered one of the first true backhoe loaders, a machine combining a front loader and a rear excavator arm on a single chassis. It was not the only company experimenting with this concept at the time, but JCB's version was practical, reliable, and, critically, priced for the small and mid-sized contractors who made up the bulk of the British construction market. The backhoe loader did not just solve a mechanical problem, it solved a business problem. A contractor who could previously afford one machine could now do the job of two. Productivity per pound spent increased dramatically. Word spread through the British construction industry fast, and the machine that started as a clever engineering solution to a small contractor's budget problem would eventually become the silhouette recognized on job sites across the entire planet. Here is something most people never think about. Why yellow? The answer is partly practical. Bright yellow is one of the most visible colors on a job site, easy to spot in low light, dust, or rain. Safety was a genuine consideration from early on in construction equipment design across the industry. But JCB took it further than almost anyone else. The company committed to a consistent, instantly recognizable color scheme, bright yellow body, black trim, and applied it across its entire product range, decade after decade. That consistency paid off in ways that went far beyond the construction industry. JCB machines began appearing in films, television shows, and news footage, not because of marketing deals, but simply because the silhouette was so recognizable that directors and editors used it as visual shorthand for construction and heavy machinery. Toy manufacturers began producing yellow JCB-branded models. Generations of children in Britain grew up calling any digger, regardless of the actual manufacturer, a JCB. That is an extraordinarily rare achievement in branding. Genericization, when a brand name becomes so dominant that it replaces the generic term for the entire product category. Hoover did it with vacuum cleaners, Thermos did it with insulated flasks, JCB did it with diggers. Across an enormous portion of the English-speaking world, JCB remained, and remains today, a privately held, family-owned company, a rarity at the scale it eventually reached. Through the 1960s, 70s and 80s, the company expanded steadily, new factories, new product lines, new markets. JCB diversified beyond the backhoe loader into excavators, wheel loaders, telescopic handlers, dump trucks, and a wide range of construction and agricultural equipment. The telescopic handler in particular became another category-defining product for the company. A machine with a long, extending arm, capable of lifting and placing materials at height and at distance, used extensively in both construction and farming. In the 1970s, JCB began expanding internationally in earnest, including a significant and long-running manufacturing partnership in India that would eventually make the country one of the company's largest markets and production bases outside the UK. Today, JCB operates manufacturing facilities across multiple continents, employs thousands of people worldwide, and sells machines in well over 100 countries. It remains headquartered in Staffordshire, England, not far from where Joseph Cyril Bamford first set up his rented garage in 1945. The family name still leads the company. In an industry increasingly dominated by large multinational conglomerates and public shareholders, JCB's continued status as a privately held, family-run business is genuinely unusual. JCB's machines have shown up in places that go well beyond ordinary construction sites. The company's equipment has been used extensively in emergency response and infrastructure recovery efforts following natural disasters, floods, earthquakes, and storm damage, where heavy machinery is essential for clearing debris and restoring access. JCB has also leaned into its cultural visibility in unconventional ways, including a well-known stunt performance series featuring backhoe loaders performing synchronized, almost dance-like movements at agricultural and public events, generating enormous public attention and reinforcing the brand's distinctive identity. The company has also pursued speed records, developing a modified backhoe loader specifically engineered to set a world speed record for its category, a marketing move that captured headlines well beyond the construction trade press. Beyond the headline-grabbing moments, JCB equipment has worked on infrastructure projects across nearly every continent: roads, dams, mines, farms, and urban developments, from rural England to major cities across Asia, Africa, and the Americas. The machine that started as a solution to one small British contractor's budget problem now works on 6 continents. Like every major equipment manufacturer in this industry, JCB now faces the same modern tensions reshaping construction technology. The company has invested in alternative power technology, including hydrogen combustion engines, as a potential pathway to reducing emissions in heavy machinery, alongside electric power options for smaller equipment. Modern JCB machines are connected, monitored, and increasingly automated in their diagnostics, giving fleet owners detailed data on machine performance, but also tying machine maintenance and repair more closely to manufacturer-controlled systems. JCB's position as a privately held, family-run company has in some respects allowed it to make longer-term bets on technology, like hydrogen power, without the same quarterly pressure public companies face. Whether that advantage translates into long-term leadership in the industry's next technological shift remains an open question. But the company that built its identity on solving practical problems for small contractors now has to solve a much larger one. How do you keep that same practical problem-solving identity while competing at a genuinely global, increasingly digital scale? JCB began with one man, a rented garage, and a single welding machine. It grew by solving a problem that bigger manufacturers had overlooked, building practical, affordable machines for the contractors who could not afford anything else. And somewhere along the way, it achieved something almost no manufacturer ever manages. It became the word people use for an entire category of machine. JCB did not just build diggers, it built the digger. Somewhere in the world, right now, someone is pointing at a machine that isn't even a JCB and calling it one anyway.